Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Space Weather. Today we're looking at the thematic map, part of the GOES 16 suite. The GOES 16 does a lot of work, and this thematic map is a great colorized representation of all of the features going on. So coronal holes shown in green, bright active regions shown in light yellow, prominences showing up in an orange color, filaments in a different shade of orange, and flares showing up in pink. So a great colorized view here of everything going on. There is a new active region rising up here in the northeast. It's a returning sunspot group. I think it's 2824 and 2826. You can find all of this on the GOES Solar Ultraviolet Imager page. The GOES 16, it's doing a lot of work. Here's a 195 angstroms view. I would also note this large coronal hole feature in the southern hemisphere. It will be providing an enhanced high-speed coronal hole wind stream in a couple of days. And here's a location of the objects in the solar system. We'll advance this 1 week. And by the way, our daily space weather today will include cosmology and meteorology segments all in one video. Most days we do the videos separately. Here's a star chart. And we've got Mercury and the Sun rising here as Jupiter and Saturn set. That yellow line is the ecliptic. I like to use in-the-sky.org for my star charts. Just put in your location if you want to set up your own star chart and see what's going on above your head. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux. The proportional data set to sunspot number is currently at 78 solar flux units. There is the 1 year chart. This black line is the 10.7 centimeter radio flux. Discovered in 1947 by Canadian radio users using some World War II radio equipment, discovered this signal, and it's been followed ever since. Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard is our next slide here. We did see a warning of a geomagnetic unrest condition, but it's not showing up here on the NOAA alerts. Not sure what that's all about, but our patrons got the alert before everybody else. Let's take a look at global seismicity. We're interested in what earthquakes have been occurring. Here is a 90-day bar graph. And here we've sorted by size. We actually did see more than that 5 magnitude quake there. Not a whole lot of quakes over the past 24 hours. Let's check out the USGS list. So there was at least a 5.0 in Indonesia over the past 24 hours. Series of quakes in California, it looks like, as well. Around Nyland, so around the areas around the Salton Sea. And leave us a comment if you know anything about the correlation between droughts and earthquakes. We covered it before, and we just provided a bunch of links to our patrons. Consider becoming a patron at patreon.com if you'd like all kinds of early alerts and information nobody else gets to see. A couple of minor deep quakes here, such as this 4.3 at nearly 200 kilometers depth at Peru. There was also a deep quake in Indonesia at a 5.2 magnitude at over 200 kilometers depth. A deep quake at the Kermadec Islands there, north of New Zealand. Nueva Concepcion, Guatemala saw a 5.4 magnitude quake. And the Solomon Islands, about half an hour later, saw a 5 magnitude quake. We saw a 4.1 magnitude quake here near San Francisco. San Francisco, Mexico, that is. And also the Sandwich Islands saw a 5.0 magnitude quake near the South Atlantic plate and the Antarctic plate boundary. And also a 4.9 magnitude deep quake at Peru. And while we did show prep here, a 5.1 at the Chagos Archipelago region, a desolate portion of the Indian Ocean here, east of Seychelles, where your favorite billionaire has all of their money hidden. Next, volcanoes. We're back on volcanodiscovery.com, and Etna saw another powerful lava fountaining paroxysm last night. It produced a 22,000-foot plume of ash, so one of the more significant paroxysms of the recent eruptive behavior from Etna, located on the Italian Isle of Sicily. Lava fountains were produced around 21:45 p.m. local time and lasted until around midnight. Subanose-jima in the Ryukyu Islands also erupting. It exploded unknown volcanic ash cloud there. Sabancaya exploding in Peru. 21,000-foot ash plume produced by intermittent explosions. And Nevados de Chilean, while we're unable to detect, please do not show up and pole vault the caldera. I know it may seem like we're party poopers by telling you not to pole vault the caldera. Hey, why are you stepping on our toes and reducing our fun? Well, pole vaulting the caldera could be unfortunate and produce unfortunate health outcomes. And since we need the views on YouTube, please do not pole vault the caldera. This public service message brought to you by smAsho.com. Let's check out more instruments here from the GOES 16. No significant solar flares. Look for the likelihood of solar flares to go up as we see a sunspot likely emerging in the northeastern limb of the closest star. We don't see any spikes in the proton flux there. No surprise there. We haven't seen any coronal mass ejections. And no surprise, as we're having a dearth of data. And there's the GOES magnetometer over the past 3 days, looking a little bit sawtoothed here. And there is a North Pole-oriented current sheet approaching, and it's going to be delayed as a result of that rising active region in the northeast. But in any case, here's the data about the current sheet, showing you the polarity, South Pole-oriented in red, North Pole-oriented in green. It's the top view ecliptic plane field plot, part of the Gong 2 data that we show daily. Here's the line of sight ecliptic plane field plot. No comment. And here is the line of sight coronal hole plot. You can see that South Pole-oriented coronal hole system right in the Earth-facing zone, reaching up toward the equatorial region. And again, we can expect to see an enhanced coronal hole wind stream in 2 to 3 days from that. And looking at global geomagnetism here, we see the KP index down to 1. Geomagnetic calm conditions. Let's take a look at the real-time solar wind next. And here's that. Pretty uneventful over the past 24 hours. Current conditions are just over 5 protons per cubic centimeter for the solar wind density. Solar wind speed, 458 kilometers per second. Slightly enhanced. It actually looks a bit like a coronal hole wind stream here, as you can see the density dip down and the velocity slowly come up. So a slightly elevated solar wind speed. Here's the magnetohydrodynamic pressure. It's our geospace magnetosphere movie. It should show you 4 hours of data. We see fairly homogeneous pressure here on both the bow shock side, the portion of the Earth that faces the sun, and the magnetotail side, the side of the Earth facing away from the sun. No major changes going on here. Next, we'll take a look at changes to the Earth's own B field by looking at ground magnetic perturbations, our other geospace magnetosphere movie. Here's that. Should also be 4 hours of data. And we've been monitoring some pulses of magnetism coming out of the Pacific Ocean. Not seeing so much of that today. We show this data daily as well due to the fact that we are currently living a geomagnetic excursion. A geomagnetic pole shift on planet Earth. By the way, we do regularly stream live to Twitch. Follow us over there if you like. Twitch.tv/smAshomash is the URL. And if you're new to the YouTube channel, don't forget to press like and subscribe over there. Press share. We need your help to get the videos out there, as the algorithms are trying to murder us. Just kidding, they're not trying to murder us. BitChute is another spot to find our content, bitchute.com/smAshomash. We'd like to welcome all of our viewers to the Neo-Renaissance. Check out our own website, smAshomash.org. We'll redirect you here to smAshomash.com. You can find our social media links, links to our contact information, and so on, as well as our smAsho merch shop, which is featuring sales on all the products. So you may not see a sale advertised here. It's because we simply lowered our profit margins through the month of June. So come July 1st, the prices will go up. Rock some gear in the month of June with our great products linkable at smashomash.com. Just click smAsho merch. And let's do today's cosmology segment. And just to recap, youtube.com/smAshomash, bitchute.com/smAshomash, and most importantly, smashomash.com, smAsho merch. We'll link you to the Redbubble shop. There is a quick view of some examples of the products. Today's cosmology segment starting out with some amazing footage of a supercell taken from June 3rd, 2013. A supercell thunderstorm over Texas is the astronomy picture of the day. So we've put this in the cosmology segment in that we always include this in the cosmology segment. You can view NASA's astronomy picture of the day at apod.nasa.gov. I like the fact that NASA is acknowledging the fact that a supercell is astronomy. Perhaps acknowledging that all your weather comes from space. Fantastic photography here of the rotation of these systems. You can see some dust blowing up here, and you can see some lightning at the top of the cloud tops. And the last little segment will include some additional blackened skies, sort of the final fallout as the system starts to reach static equilibrium in the atmosphere. By the way, we're counting down to the solstice. We're in the 2 brightest weeks of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. Make sure you join us at 11:32 and 9 seconds. That's 11:32 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on June 20th. We'll be streaming live for the solstice. And today's random number coincides with the strongest magnetic field in the universe. We picked a random number which coincides with number 323 at the Neil Gorell Swift Bat X-ray Observatory, GRO J1008-571, a magnetar, which has the strongest magnetic field ever detected. So we actually updated our forum. If you check out smashomash.com/forum, there is a cosmology thread there. And that forum includes a forum thread called The Most, which includes this story. We covered it when the story came out. And we updated our forum here on September 11th of last year. Here's some more imagery of GRO J1008-571, the source of the strongest magnetism ever detected in the entire universe. There it is in the 2-mass. It is a high-mass X-ray binary, and it's got very variable X-ray output. Here is the X-ray transient output from GRO J1008-571, and you can see how variable indeed it is. And we just saw a strong outburst from it here. And the upper right is the about 16 years of X-ray data. The upper left is the daily. It's showing you like 2 days of data. And then down here is the 30-day X-ray output of that magnetar. Again, it's number 323. The high-mass X-ray binary / neutron star magnetar, whatever you want to call it, from the Neil Gorell Swift Observatory. That's today's cosmology segment. Let's continue on to talk about some more local stuff, the electrons that surround the Earth. We don't see sufficient numbers of them to be charging anything, like satellites. Here's a 1-year chart of the electron flux, and here's a 3-day chart. We did see a minor increase here, and we are expecting to see a little more of a significant increase before the coronal hole wind stream arrives. Anyway, that's the forecast. The forecast is the green box there. That's the NOAA forecast for electron flux. And here's the total electron content forecast, showing you the electron density for the entire air column. It does help to show you where GPS errors are most likely to occur, and we're seeing once again chaotic electron blobs here at nighttime over places like the central Atlantic Ocean. I'll let it play through a second time. And we see more chaotic bands of electron flux associated with low levels. They get more coherent and organized at higher levels of electron density. And what you're just looking at is the electrons in Earth's Van Allen belts. There's a diagram of that along with distances in miles. And next we'll show you the ionosphere. One slice of the atmosphere located at about 300 kilometers of altitude. It's the F ionosphere, and it's looking a little bit anomalous here. We're seeing a very wide, low-frequency portion here occurring at nighttime. And it's not that atypical of what happens around the solstice, the June solstice, that is. Not looking super abnormal here. Let's bring up the latest image, which is from 10:30 Universal Time. Again, there's a diagram of the atmosphere showing you electromagnetic radiation penetration, temperatures, and the different layers of the ionosphere, D, E, F, etc. Next, we're doing meteorology integrated into the daily space weather video today. Here's the GOES lightning mapper, and we're going to feature this area right here. This area just moving across the Texas stovepipe into western Oklahoma, because it's pretty spectacular. But first, a global lightning map. Lots of lightning in Eastern Europe, as you can see. It's a good day to be Dracula, perhaps. Next, pressure cells. Here's where pressure is now. We're going to advance this into tomorrow. Here's the European forecast for pressure at 12 noon Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow. Here are the jet streams of the Eastern world. I'd note once again the jet stream blowing backwards east to west across the Indian Ocean. Here are the surface winds of that portion of planet Earth. And we'll rotate to the western portion. There's the western world's surface wind scenario. And here's the 250 hectopascals. That is the jet stream scenario, and look at how incoherent it remains in the northern hemisphere, doubled up over the southern hemisphere. Extreme meridional jet stream flow at its finest in the north. The jet stream is all over the place. So here's this system moving across Oklahoma. The edge of it's going to be quite close to the Oklahoma-Texas border there. And here's what's going on in the cloud layer. It's quite a spectacular little area of moisture there. And here's the water vapor map. You can see those great water vapor variations as that moisture interacts with the more dry and massive air shown there in orange. And let's zoom back out to the national scale. And there's the U.S. Doppler radar map. Some pretty heavy rains there in western Oregon and Washington. Here's the cloud layer. It's the 3.9 nanometer radiation map, part of the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite. And here's the water vapor map, a crowd favorite. And here's a recap: Doppler radar, cloud layer, water vapor. That's today's meteorology segment. Here come the bonus features for the daily space weather. And it's a Proba 2 animation in 174 angstroms of the closest star. Note the time and date stamps. This is a couple of days of activity here. It's June 8th through early this morning on the 13th, so about 5 days of data there. Next, thanks to our patrons, patreon.com/smashamash if you want all kinds of alerts before anybody else, as well as perks like multimedia and so on. Patreon.com/smashamash. Thanks to our patrons. And if you're not a patron, you may want to thank our patrons as well, as our patrons are largely responsible for the continuation and existence of these videos. Thanks again, patrons. And we'll close things out with this great 304 angstroms imagery from the GOES 16. I stand corrected. We'll close things out with 284 angstroms. We'll be keeping an eye on that area in the northeast. Not sure if it's a sunspot yet. Let us know if you have a theory. We're not too concerned about it, although don't be surprised to see the X-ray flux and the radio flux increase, as it looks like a pretty bright area. In any case, thanks for tuning into the Daily Space Weather. Remember, stare at the sun, attempt to understand the physics, don't drink it. If you do, don't drive. And may that solar wind be at your back.